everybody to the first rendition of Let's Talk for the Fathers here on my channel. Some of you that have been following me have been following the ministry, have been following the private groups, these exclusive sessions, and I decided to take this top stream. So for you guys that have been following me, thank you for all your support. Thank you for all your love. And today we're just gonna kick some things off in the space of fatherhood, talking about some real topics. And I want to hear from the audience as we go forth on this topic, talking about fatherhood, more specifically talk about providing versus being present. Because there's been a lot if you see in the world today, there's been a lot of different views on the family structure, on fatherhood, on manhood, and every day I got on here just to kick some going forward. We're gonna have some people jumping in, because if we really look at the spectrum of things, father being actively and positively present has a big impact on the lives of their children. So if you want to know more about what I'm doing here with For the Fathers, there's a corner there. Go ahead and lock into that, and you can check out all my resources. I got some free tips, 7 Power Habits for Fathers, 7 Power Habits for Success, all these different tools and resources to be as successful as you need to be in life, for your families, for yourself, for your mental health. Um, and yeah, I just came up with that on the spot, but it sounded cool. Those of you that have been following, I have a podcast called For the Fathers. So here we're just expanding a little bit on those subject matters. I will be dropping a link in here shortly. To the topic of discussion on today, we're talking about providing versus just being present. And so in most cases, we find that a lot of people are become who they are, in spite of having a father present or not, or because of having a father present or not. Now, what's the difference? Sometimes, depending on, in this case, we're talking about fatherhood, but just parents in general, by how a kid was turns out. If they had a childhood that was a struggle, sometimes that childhood that was a struggle, they use that as a fuel, as a resource, as something to empower them to overcome and push through. The other side of that is because of that same childhood, to that environment, that they succumb to, over the environment that are around, the people that are around, they succumb to that thing, and as a result, their life pans out that way. And so it's hard to reach each and every different person, right? Siblings that grow up in the same household, but they all grow up differently. And they say no, parents that have their first child, they move and act differently and arrange things differently once that second and third child comes in. And as they have more, things approach starts to change. Things that they try kids, by the time they get to that third or fourth child, they've to the whole family. However, those first children still of the learning process that the parents have, and some parents never learn. And then there's the in spite of, kids grow up with parents that had drug addictions or were abusive or were any kind of have any kind of negative connotation to that lifestyle. And as a result of that, they do everything in their power to not end up like into a life of much success. And then you have the rarely talked about cases. I would say I'm in that rare boat where both of my parents are married till this day, raised up me and my siblings, and me and my siblings are all turned out great, no crazy stories, no nothing like that. And my parents are still together. Me and my siblings are still close, and that will be like I'll say that's a rare blessing to see. In spite of all the things we see in the world today, it's very, in my opinion, you guys can let me know in the comments. I see it, and I'm starting to see it more. Push for that more, but like my there, and then my grandparents, it was the same thing. Like, you see families sticking together, you see families growing together, but more recently you see more a higher divorce rate, a lot more broken families, a lot more blended families. I don't want to say broken families, I'll say blended, because in some cases there are families that have co-parenting but they get along. The kids parents remitting works, and so I'm gonna say blended families are not really broken, because not every family is broken. And so, transitioning now into the thought, into the concept and mindset of fatherhood. Now, how much impact does fatherhood truly have? For a quick moment, um, and I'm just go over the numbers here. So I was saying, like, somewhere in the range of, I believe, 3 kids. One out of every four children, one out of every 4 children in a fatherless home, and one in every 3 families are what we consider a blended family. That means the kids have, like, the parents have multiple kids with multiple partners, and so there's one in every 3 families. And so this is a result of a lot of people, for whatever reason, love, falling out of relationships, or getting into situations they should have never been in, and now the kid has to deal with the impact of that. And a lot of times we ability for our decisions, and it's sad to see here today, when kids are the result of, like the parent made a mistake. Like, say the mom slept with, had a one night stand with somebody that they didn't mean to, and then as a result of that they had a child, and now every time they see that child they think of that person, and they raise a child with that in mind. They resent that child as a result of that child being birthed, as a result of that relationship. And so the kid didn't treat it that way yet. The parents tend to treat their kids a certain way. Or a couple that had a kid together, there's discourse between the husband and the wife, whether the wife, I mean, not the wife, whether the woman is pushed the husband away and is keeping the child from the husband, and the husband's trying to be active in the child's life, or the father is totally absent from the child's life, and the female's trying her best to have that kind of presence or build some kind of connection. And it's not a one-way thing, angles to this, but at the end of the day, because of the decisions that adults make, or pre-adults make, results in children coming into this world and being raised in an environment that is not conducive to their development. And so one of the things I try to do here is try to show impact and positivity towards raising kids the right way, especially as fathers. And one of the biggest topics is, like, providing. You think about blended families and separate families, and men, if they're not present support or take care of the child, and how much of an impact is that. And there's a lot of men who, but also want to actively and positively be in their child's life, and sometimes that's not allowed to them because of the court system, and that's a topic for another day. And then even more so, um, you have a loss in the family. One of the parents passed for that father or for that mother to raise that child, and then that's a burden that's weighed on that child, right? And so see here is that it was some percentile of children system that end up in jail, that die at a young age, all are come from a fatherless home. And so it is important, not to just be a provider or be present, but to be, in my opinion, positively present. If you see that high number of that there is a higher number when there's a strong family unit, but they even, and you guys can fact check me. You can Google and look this up. Kids tend to a more positive life, or tend to go down directions of more of greater success when the father is present. They did when a father is in the home, and then when there's no parent, when there's a father present, and the highest numbers of the aptitude and the positivity and the was when a father was present. Even when a father is present on a child's life than when the mother is not present. Again, I've been researching this. I've been studying this for some time now. You guys can go fact check, see the numbers for yourself. I'm just letting you guys know how important fatherhood is, going into, and not even touch on the Bible yet. And you guys know I'm a scripture first person, and show me, there's so much to be said about fatherhood. Even God Himself models after love, after family, after the structure of family. He says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved live. Wives, honor your husbands as we honor our Lord before us." Right? That last part right there, but the important part is we love our wives, we take care of our families as Christ takes care of the church, right? So how would our walk with Christ be without Christ? Think about that for a moment. If the presence of a father in the home has such a positive impact in us taking care of the family and our wives, is the same manner that Christ takes care of the church. We're a Christian God, but yet we don't have. How much more of a struggle is difficult of a walk is. That is something to put into. I think on that for a little bit. Being a Christian or living a Christ life for Christ without Christ, without the indwelling power, without the accepting Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, without having Christ in God, how much more of a struggle that tend for our life altogether. And so that's the same impact of the father in the house. How much more effective, how much more powerful can a family move? And I'm not just talking about being present, because a lot of times fathers, like, they provide, or even they're taking care of the house, and in today's world, a lot of families are separate because those working, the kids are in school and after school programs, so the family is hardly around each other. And in most cases, the father works the most, right? Or do work when the family's doing stuff. He very that family time. Very rarely gets that time with the kids, and maybe once a month has, if that, has date night with the wife, right? That's where society has brought us to today. Is that lack of presence for fathers. But then on the other side, you got to be more than just present, because there's fathers that are present, but then you see fathers. They could be verbally abusive, mentally abusive, physically abusive. That the first thing is beating the kids, and they're very aggressive, very hostile. And that is another situation that kids deal with, that can lead to trauma, and that can lead to a negative, long-lasting life. Like, it's hard for them to date or find peace or accept, because of abandonment, because of abuse, because of trauma, because of anything that happened when they were younger, as a result of having no fun, not a good parent, or having, and that goes the same for just parents in general. Having no parent present, or having a parent that was present but having not grown up, really can leave scars on that person. Even the ones that become successful sometimes have resentment. There's great things and be truly successful, but they haven't talked to their mother or father in 20, 30 years because of how they were brought up. As parents, how much we affect our kids. Are the only people in this world that holds us accountable for everything else is our children. They want our approval. They want us to love them. They just want us to be present and be happy with them more than anybody else. And yet we give them like the crumbs. We give them the last bit of our energy. We give the last bit of focus. We let everything that they do bothers us, right? And we don't take time to get to know them. And they're just kids. They're just trying to be happy, have fun, and please us. And we don't even take responsibility when these kids are acting out. Like when Morant, this man hanging around the wrong people. Yeah, his father's president in his life, but but I was having a conversation with somebody. There are cases where there are good in there, they're positive, they have a good impact, very encouraging, but yet the kid environment and they don't listen to the parent. They have a good parent, and the kid just goes and whatever something in them draws them to this bad lifestyle. That's because what's portrayed out there. And that's another thing where we have to come together, see this imagery of like how kids should be, or how we think kids ought to act, or how we think kids should treat their parents or talk to their parents, which is not the case. And then we have in TV and all these other outlets raising our kids because we don't take time to raise them ourselves. And the more present you are in your child's development, and when you're not present in their life, that does have that also has a great development. And so, for fathers, when we're present, when we're active in the lives of our children, it is important to be present and to be positive. And how do we do that? Sorry. And how do we do that? We do that by flipping the script, taking time to listen to them, doing things that they like to do, making time for them, and showing up for them. Just because we're authoritative, aggressive, chastiser, we can have fun. We can spend time. We can cook with them. We can do art projects. We can do whatever it is that's going to help their development. We can take time from our busy day when we're overwhelmed, where we're tired. We can take a little bit of time to be with our kids, watch the shows that they like, play with them for 15, 30 minutes. All these little things that might be a lot for us because we're tired, overworked, or I do enough by providing. Providing is not enough. Providing yourself is not enough. You got to provide yourself consistently. That is a need to be present, to be active, to be supportive, and to be effective. Like we can, and we can, impact our kids all we want. We can try to, give them what they want, buy whatever they want, and do whatever they ask, but not really being present for them. Then we just become an ATM for them. Yeah, we're providing. They're happy because they go to where they want to go, they eat where they want to go, they hang out where they want to go, and because we want them to be happy with us, we buy them whatever they want, right? But eventually, that becomes overwhelming. That becomes neglectful, and that becomes, in a sense of manipulative, where the child only depends on the parent for those things, and then, in a sense, can flip the script because they know how to gain what they want from their parent. And the parent becomes, in a sense, the weaker vessel, and then that push pushes the kid towards a pattern that is, not development. We have to be present. When we're present, we can see the signs. We can pay attention. You see the world today. You see all these having no outlet, committing suicide, having mental health issues at a young age, like mental health in middle school, shooting up schools. And it's because parents aren't recognizing the signs. They could be present, but they aren't recognizing this. They aren't getting to know their kids. Today, the world, everything that really doesn't matter. Social media, all the stuff, there's live video. all this stuff, it doesn't matter. What you're building matters. There's nothing more important than building your legacy, which is your children. And once we realize that, then we can understand the power of being present. Being present is so key that just what we say can have a lasting impact. I hear my kids all the time. They either, good bad habits I have, they imitate that. My wife too, they imitate us. They imitate some things we say, some of our mannerisms, how we act, how we respond to things, right? They imitate those present and how we respond to things. They're looking at that because they want to please us, but then they also want to be like us. And so sometimes we blame everything but ourselves, how they grow up, how they internalize things. We don't realize how much of an impact we have on them. And it's important that we take a time as parents, especially as fathers, take a moment to step back and say, am I being impactful in my child's life? What more can I do to impact them? What more can I do to support them? What more can I do to just be what they need from me? And I'm blessed to say my parents were more than enough. And not everybody was fortunate enough to have parents there. If you needed something, they took care of you. Like to take care of my wife, my kids. Like if I need something from them, they got me. Like and it wasn't until I got older that I seen how many people did not have that. That it was really sad to see. And hearing these stories and watching these lives unfold, like people I went to high school with, middle school with, people I went to college with, and seeing the differences of how they were raised and how their lives are now. And some of them, a lot of them, are living that like I'm not gonna do my kids like my parents did me, or I'm gonna be like my parents and build a strong legacy. Like it's so many different narratives and different stories that to which kids can turn out. And so I'll leave you guys with this. There's not one way to parent, right? There wasn't one way to learn anything. There's multiple directions to get to a destination. Figuring out your parenting as you're figuring out how much more you want to impact your kids, realize that there's more than one way to get there. And every kid learns differently. So just be present, be positive, be supportive, and I guarantee you, your kids are going to love you for it. They're going to grow. They're going to be greater than you can even imagine, right? And so if you want more information, go ahead and drop that, go ahead and look at that barcode in the corner there. That's my information there. We do have exclusive private groups that we talk about these subjects with to encourage and uplift fathers. We also have coaching programs where you can walk through steps to improve your marriage, improve your business, your family business if you have one, improve just your mental peace, your mental health as a father, as a man. And so that's what we're here to do. So go ahead, scan that barcode, check out what we have to offer you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow actually for our Bible study. God bless.